3, 2, 1. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Q&A show, Q&A podcast on Inside the Birds platform YouTube channel. I am your main man back for the 2022-23 season. Go Birds. I'm Jason Avant. I'm here with my co-host, my main man that moved to Idaho on us. He's all the way in Idaho. But it's my main man, Quintin Mikell.
What's up, everybody? Glad to be back, man. Exciting times. And as always, man, love seeing you. Love talking football with you, Jay. Let's get it.
Always love seeing you. Glad you're doing well. Great seeing your face as usual. First week, a lot of stuff going on. Before we get into that, thanks all the fans that are tuning in. Everyone that has sent your questions to insidethebirds@gmail.com over the summertime. We're going to get to some of those questions. Also, to everyone that is responsible for the Q&A show, to Adam and Jeff and Greg and Josh and Hunter and everyone that's responsible inside the Birds. Thank you guys for having us another year, and every fan that's tuning in for making this show a success. Thank you guys very much. Make sure that you tune in each and every Sunday. This week it'll be Monday on the game day. We have the pregame show, Inside the Bird pregame show with Adam Kaplan, Jeff Mosher, Greg Cosell, and myself. It's every game day, 3 hours before the game. So this upcoming Monday against the Vikings, it'll air at 5 p.m. and we'll go from 5 to 7. But in a normal game week, it'll air at 10 a.m. and we'll go to 12 noon. Normal 1 o'clock start. So that's every game day, the pregame show. Also, this year, there is a postgame show with Adam Kaplan, Jeff Mosher, and Trey Thomas. Trey Thomas is back in the saddle at Inside the Birds. Q, I don't know if you knew that, but he's back in the saddle. So Trey breaks down the line like no other. It's a great thing that's going on Inside the Birds. So make sure you guys are tuning in. Those are my announcements. I'm glad to be back. I'm excited. Big win for the Eagles against the Lions. A lot closer than what we anticipated. The Lions look like they're getting a lot better, getting a lot of charisma there with the coaching staff, with the Hard Knocks show. So I'm pretty sure it'll be interesting for the rest of the season. But let's get into the game, week 1, Q. Your overall thoughts about the defense, well, defense, offense, big picture. What do you think? What are your thoughts and your impressions of the team week 1?
Well, to me, the main part is a win is a win. Being 1-0 is always a great way to start the season. So I'm happy with that. Obviously, it wasn't perfect. There was some very good stuff that happened. There's some stuff that needs to be fixed. Some pretty much what you would expect in week 1. So I was very impressed with the additions. I was very impressed with, some of the players that this was their first year with the Eagles. But I was also kind of impressed with the Lions team. I mean, I thought that they came out fired up, ready to go. I think that they, in years past, the team, like the Lions they start losing, and the game pretty much snowballs out of it. And they stayed and they kept fighting towards the end. So I think that you have to give a lot of credit to that team, but I think the Eagles went out and did what they had to do to get the win.
Yeah, I agree with that. The coaching staff there was Dan Campbell and Deuce and Aaron Glenn, and those that are responsible are starting to change the culture there. So usually, yes, you go down 17 with the Lions, they usually pack it up, pack it in. But, they show some fight and some resilience. And I'm glad the Eagles had that type of game week 1, because they had to preserve the win, but also they were in a hostile environment, and it was everyone picking them by 10 or 15 or 7. Then the line went down to 5, right? So know what it's like to be, that team that people are going after, and how you don't play down to your opponents at all. You have to come out and show up every game. You can't take it for granted in the NFL. I don't care what the team's history is. I don't care who's playing that quarterback or who's not available. It's an NFL team. You got to respect them as such. So I'm glad that they were able to pull out the win under those circumstances. My general thoughts on it. I thought offensively, the team moved the ball pretty efficiently. Jalen Hurts used his legs to preserve and prolong drives throughout the entire game. Some big runs on third downs, 3rd and 15, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 5. Many scampers that he had in order to keep the drive alive. And also just the connection with A.J. Brown, just some of those thoughts that came jumping off my mind. We're going to get into some details here, but let's go transition right into the defense. Q, your expertise. It wasn't the best showing for the run game, right? Last year, the Eagles team were very stout in the run game. Not many players were able to get over 100 yards against the Eagles. This game here, something totally different. 181 yards on 28 attempts for the Lions. 28 attempts, 181 yards. They gave up touchdowns. What do you make of DeAndre Swift, 144 yards on almost 10 yards a carry?
That's insane. That's insane.
Did you hear me, everybody? I said on 10 yards a carry. This is crazy. This is not the NFL that I know of. Now, let's get into it. Is it gap integrity? Is it tackling? Is it guys in new positions? Tell me about it. What do you think?
This is what I look at when I look at the game. My first initial mindset, okay, it's game one. Tackling is always going to be an issue game one. Gap integrity is always going to be an issue game one. I think the game plan that the Lions came into the game with, I think it was very good. In my opinion, I feel like they said, you know what? Slade doesn't really, he's a cover corner. Bradbury's more of a cover corner. Let's force those guys to make one-on-one tackles. And if you notice, at least the way I saw it, a lot of the big run plays, and really all the run plays were trying to hit off tackle, and they're trying to put those corners in a situation where it's a one-on-one tackle. And, moving forward, you got to have your safeties having, the proper gap integrity, but you got to have some corners that are going to come up and make a play, because a lot of times teams will scheme it up, and there's going to be a long year for those guys if they're not, nipping that in the bud and making sure that, hey, listen, I know I'm a corner. I don't like to tackle every time, 10 times a game, one-on-one with DeAndre Swift. So if you guys want that at the end, you're going to have to put a kibosh to it. So get those guys coming down and more aggressive versus the run. And I think the linebacking core, even though I think they did much better than they had previously, they need to learn to get off blocks and get to the football a little bit better. That's personally what I saw.
Q, Q, I agree with you. But don't you be protecting the safeties, Q. Don't you be protecting the safety, knowing you're a safety, trying to put it on the cornerback. The run game's supposed to be stopped by the front seven and the safeties.
Very true. And we'll get into that, but yeah. I gotta protect my guys a little bit, man.
I gotta protect you. I know you gotta protect your guys now. So from my breakdown of it, just the initial breakdown of the run defense, right? Like you said, gap integrity, but like I'm gonna say it like Chauncey Garner Johnson was a nickel corner. So for those that don't know what a nickel corner is, it's usually when a third corner comes into the game. They take a linebacker out, they bring a cornerback in, and he's usually covering people. He's in the slot, that nickel guy, he's in the slot. You have to take on blocks and you have to be able to blitz and things like that. But it's a different position now. He's going from a nickel corner at the Saints to a safety. And he's the safety this past game that was in a box a lot. Yeah. And because he's in the box, he's at a different position. I thought that he looked a little bit out of place and rusty at the safety position. He did play safety at Florida, but that was many years ago. So he looked rusty. He didn't recognize when there was a crack block. He didn't recognize when to come up a little bit stronger. Even when he came up sometime, he broke down, knowing that you can't break down that safety because you're going to get blocked. They're moving towards you. You have to beat blockers to the spot, and therefore you don't slow down. And also body presence. When he felt the body presence of a receiver, I was always taught when I played safety many years ago, when I was playing safety in college and I was playing safety in high school, that a safety cannot get blocked by a receiver. I don't care what it is, right? I was the exception. The safeties didn't get mad when I blocked them. But I'm gonna toot my own horn. But safety shouldn't get blocked by receivers just in general. And he got blocked by one-on-one by a few receivers because he didn't recognize the splits and the crack blocks and things like that. So he has to get better pretty quickly. And we're going to give him a pass today because this is his first game back at the safety position. So there's going to be some growth and some development. He's going to see this film. But I can say that a lot of the big runs he had a big part of. And if he was more tactical, some of those runs would have been able to been stopped. But now, DeAndre Swift is another beast because it doesn't mean that you're going to block him anyway because he's strong and powerful. Yeah. And we have a question here. Q, I want you to explain like losing gap integrity.
Well, yeah. So let's say I'm in the box as a safety. Say we're in a cover 3 and my run fit is just outside the tight end. So that means if the tight end blocks down, my gap that I'm responsible for is the gap that's directly outside the tight end. So what happens is a lot of times, let's say a team will know that if the safeties roll down, they'll be in a cover 3. So they have to get someone to block that. So what they'll do to block that player, so what they'll do is they'll bring a receiver down and they call it a crack split, and he comes down and he blocks that safety. So now the integrity part comes with now. As a safety, I know that blocker, that receiver's coming down to block me to get me out of my gap. Okay, now I still have to control my gap. So that means that even though this guy's coming to block me on my outside, I cannot just let him just crush me down into the line. So I have to hold
A gap, B gap, whatever. I can't get crushed down inside.
Exactly. So having gap integrity is, even though you have this blocker coming down, you're staying square, you're posting your arm right there, and if the runner comes your way, you still hold your gap. So sometimes with a young safety or a guy that's not used to it, they feel that block coming down and they try to jump outside of it, and you lose your gap, where they might, like I said before, they get crushed down and they lose their gap that way. So you just basically, it's just holding your gap, making sure you're where you're supposed to be in the defense.
Yeah, and I'll just piggyback off Q. If you hold your gap, the tackles are a lot easier for everyone else, right? Because it's less space, right? And you're always trying to close the distance as a defender, right? You're going downhill toward the line of scrimmage, right? You want to make that tackle where the guy can't go left and right. And if you get down there quick enough, he can't go left and right because there's bodies. And the same way for the corners. If you hold your gap integrity and the corner's in his proper gap, the tackle is going to be easier. But if there's a big hole, big chasm, it's an easy time for missed tackle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's not what you want.
Yeah, and that's not what you want. And we saw a lot of that this game. All right, so let's keep it going. Like Jordan Davis, he didn't play. I know he didn't play the first series at all. I think he got in there in the third defensive series, but it could have been a little bit of the second. But he didn't play in the first defensive series. I don't know if that's by design or not, but he wasn't out there. And everyone automatically thinks Jordan Davis, this dude is humongous. He's going to be the one that stops the run by himself. That is not true, ladies and gentlemen. It just doesn't work like that. A lot of people, if he's in the right position and he gets a one-on-one block, he's going to destroy that block. But people know how big he is. They're not just going to always block him one-on-one. They're going to, show 4 hands on him and then work up in order to get a guy in good position, right? So, So Nick Sirianni said that there was no correlation to the Eagles' run defense with and without Jordan Davis, even though the stats say they fared way better versus the run when Davis was on the field. Are they just being selective with Davis snaps because they don't think he can play too many snaps? Because he's been in there more, seeing we were getting crushed in the run a little bit.
That's a good question. I'm going to venture. I mean, first of all, the stats speak for themselves. I mean, when he was in there, that defense, the run defense was, phenomenal. And I do think that a lot of times when you have what we're seeing with a lot of young players that are coming, especially down in the trenches, you don't want to have a young player that's potentially going to be a cornerstone of your D line for quite a while. And I don't think that they necessarily want to take the chance of getting too many reps on him too early in his career. And, risking injury, knock on wood, risking the injury to him. So I think it's a smart move by limiting his reps a little bit. He's a huge guy, as we've said before, and a lot of times those big guys, they're taking too many hits, too much pounding. You're going to start to have those lower extremity type of injuries, which you want to stay away from. So I think his rep count was pretty good. Obviously, when he's in there, it's a completely different defense versus the run game. So I'm okay with it. It is the Lions after all. I think if it's next Monday night's game, you're playing Minnesota, a team that's a tough matchup. You're going to want to have him out there for more reps than that.
Yeah, I agree with you. When you draft a guy in the first round, I know you have veteran guys. You got Fletcher Cox. It's the changing of the guard that's happening here. Mm-hmm. And it's a very, very precarious and uncomfortable situation to be in as a coach because you respect what this guy has done, but the team is getting a little older. You bring in the young bloods, and so you're trying to balance the reps. I remember me being in my second year. My first year, I was injured, but my second year, I've started to come on. And you had the older guys there. You had the G. Lews. You had, I think we had Kevin Curtis at that time. We had Reggie Brown. And my play just began to grow and grow and grow. And then before you know it, I was in the starting three. But I was in the starting three, but I wasn't in the starting four because the coach didn't want to take some of these older guys out and put me in there. So it was kind of weird. And until they got to the midpoint of the season, dude, we're not losing the game because us trying to be diplomatic. We're gonna play the best players. And they say, "Oh, Jason, you just going in there," and everybody else was mad about it. But it was just that time. And I think at some point with Jordan Davis, because of how talented he is, that they're gonna get past the touchy space because it's time to win games. They're gonna say, "Hey, man, we need you in there," and it's gonna hurt someone's feelings, but he got to play more snaps, and that's gonna happen eventually.
Oh yeah, it's got to happen. I mean, at the end of the day, too. I mean, nobody wants to lose games. But I'd rather listen. If we have a chance to win the Super Bowl and I'm on the bench, I'm gonna enjoy it just as much as if I was starting. You know what I mean? Especially if I'm that late in my career. So I'm sure at some point that's gonna happen, like you said. And it's just part of the game, man.
So I just think it was more so being diplomatic more than just Davis's play or being big or stuff like that. That's my take on it. Jared Goff normally is I call him a coward under pressure. Jared, forgive me for saying that. That was wrong. That was a little bit too violent.
No,
a little bit too harsh. But listen, he's a guy that doesn't like body presence. He's a guy that doesn't like people near his legs, doesn't like, blitzes and stuff like that. He fared pretty well this game. I must say, he fared pretty well, all things being considered. Now, we didn't get as much pressure on him as we would like. That's because they had a great game plan of getting the ball out of his hand. They ran it really good. They had some misdirection plays, some screens, dropbacks. I didn't count many dropbacks that he had, that he started having dropbacks later in the game because they had to catch up. But earlier in that ball game, it was sporadic. It was maybe 3 or 4 dropbacks in the whole first half of the game. He was moving or they were getting the ball out quick. It wasn't like standard play. So, but overall, I thought he played well. He didn't get touched much. What do you think of the lack of pressure on him? What do you think about Jared Goff's performance?
I mean, I wasn't expecting that. I'm in the same boat as you. I think they did have a good game plan, moving him around, keeping him out of the pocket, and different looks, different things for the defense to look at. I do like the Eagles did add a little bit more pressure, especially the first half. I saw a couple blitzes, which I was very, very happy to see. We've seen a couple of exotic blitzes, corner blitzes, so I was excited for that. But I do think he did well, and I was really more impressed with the second half. Like I said earlier, that we've seen games where he just kind of shut it down, and he continued to fight, and they made some plays down the stretch when the Eagles were kind of backing off a little bit. I thought he had a good game.
All right, as far as the lack of pressure though, because when you have Derek Barnett, right? I'm not saying that he's a world beater when it comes to pass rush, right? We got Brandon Graham, we got Hassan Reddick, We got Josh Sweat, who we're just dying to break out one of these times, just dying for him just to have a takeoff game. And this is the game. They had, a few banged up linemen. Now they're known to have one of the best lines in the NFL, right? They always say that the Eagles and the Lions have one of the best lines. Last year when we played them, everybody on their line was hurt, so it wouldn't be the same game. They had a lot of guys with injuries that played through injuries, like Ragnow and a few others that played through injuries. Like, do you think it's just because they had a superior offensive line, or what do you make of the lack of pressure? We got one sack, we got one turnover, and the reason we got the turnover is because it was a mental error by the tight end running a nod rather than a stick.
Yeah. I think it was more. Well, I think it was more of the scheme. I think the rush was getting there. I saw Sweat a couple of times coming off, but the ball's getting out so fast. I mean, there's only so much he can really affect the game when the ball's coming out so fast. I do think towards the end of the game, there were some situations where there was, drop back coverage, traditional drop back, where if our back seven played a little bit smarter, I think TJ Edwards was having a little bit of trouble in some of those cover two drops. But I think it's game one. I'm not getting too crazy about it. The ball was getting out fast. Goff was getting the ball out fast. But I do think if they're going to be successful, they're going to need to create. It's almost like, okay, so the first half we saw more blitzing. I was happy to see that. But then it was like the second half when we needed to be more in coverage. When you're relying on the front to get there, almost like last year, it wasn't as productive as it was in the previous year. So I'm not going to go too crazy over it, again, being game one, but those guys need to definitely generate better pass rush in the future.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we need to just in the secondary in general, I saw something that I don't normally see. I saw guys going to spots a few times. Did you see that? Like just dropping them back in spots, like spot dropping in zone. That's just not common. Usually a guy is staying tight to you, kind of matching you a little bit rather than just blindly dropping. And I saw it a few times. Yeah. I'm not saying that it was every time. It just seems like it was unfamiliar to a lot of the guys. That's the gist of what I'm saying. It was more, it looked like it wasn't something they were comfortable with yet.
Yeah, so let me explain too, because I kind of touched on this back in the offseason when the Eagles added Kaiser White. If you go into the game and you watch the way he drops, especially like the first interception when he got his hand on the ball, when he gets to his drops, he's not just getting to a spot. He's looking, he's feeling routes, he's looking for routes. That's what you want in a linebacker. And now, if you look at the way Kaiser drops, you can tell he was taught the proper way to do it, to find routes and get in the zone and get in the passing lane. I almost feel like Edwards is the complete opposite, where he's more just dropping to a spot. He's got his eyes locked on the quarterback, and he's, just trying to read the quarterback. But a lot of times when you're dropping in the cover 2, cover 3 as a linebacker, you've got to look and find routes and be a little bit more aware of what's happening behind you. So tailored to different type of athletes. If I'm TJ Edwards, I'm going to get with Kaiser. I'm like, hey, give me some tips. Let's work on some drops. Get with me and show me what you're looking at when you get to your zone, so I can get a little bit quicker on my reactions with the routes behind me.
I know I agree with that. Maybe and that's a great point. If you have a guy that, and I used to hate, what was the linebacker for the Giants? I think it was Antonio Pierce.
Oh yeah.
He was great at that. Like, he was great. He had a nose for filling out your route. And I'm through like, how are you right here right now? Because he would drop, he would be looking, he looked back. It was like ball you man defense in basketball. Like that's basically what it is. It's like, what a ball is, where your man is, you're splitting the difference. You're not just going to purgatory, just some random place that you're supposed to go on the paper, because they give you these drops on paper. Oh, this is my general area. No, it depends on who's over there and what you're feeling. And that's where we have to do a better job. And if we do that, it buys a little bit more time for these guys to get home. That's basically why I was saying it.
Absolutely.
We talked about it. Gannon brought more blitzes. Still no sacks, but he was getting the ball. Goff was getting the ball out.
Yeah.
What do you think about the new look Gannon? I would say I would definitely call it a new look because he blitzed a lot more. And I don't know if it's because Aaron Glenn was dialing it up on us, but he was I was like, dude, are we playing Jim Johnson right now? He was dialing it up. He was dialing it up. Like, I don't care who they have out there. we're gonna run our defense.
Yeah.
But go ahead. But we'll talk about that in a minute. But do you think defensive coordinators have that in their mind? Like, yo, they're coming after us. We're gonna come after them.
Oh yeah, they got to. I mean, I've said this multiple times. The games when we played the Steelers, it was Jim Johnson versus Dick LeBeau, and it was like who come up with the most exotic blitzes. It was like everybody, it was like both coaches were showing up with their brand new rides. They got the 22-inch wheels on it, swangers, like they do in Texas. You got the candy paint. So that's what it felt like back in the day. So that's absolutely part of it. They're going to show off a little bit. And so I was excited for seeing it, man. We've been saying this since last year, like take some chances, especially you bring all these guys in. Your front is ridiculous. But you got all these players, these coverage guys. You got to take some chances, and I was happy to see it because now it feels like this is Eagle football. Now it feels like we're going to be aggressive. We're not going to play back and play scared. We're going to play not to lose. We're going to play and come after it. So I think he backed off on it a little bit in the second half, but I still was excited to see it.
Yeah, it seemed when the game was on the line, we got a little bit more conservative. Mm-hmm. Now. Let's talk. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Epps because I want to I can count on my hand the number of negative plays he had. I think he had 2 negative plays from just my evaluation, but he made some serious plays. That the one on the inside screen where he beat the lineman and he was 12 yards away, and that's how you come up to play the game. You're coming up I'm not worrying about missing the tackle. I'm trying to beat this guy to my spot because this is my gap. And I have to keep gap integrity. So I'm fighting to get there and then blew him up. Just multiple good plays I can think of on a goal line. He got Swift ended up scoring a touchdown, I believe. But it was the right move to come up. He came up full speed. Now he just forgot to wrap up.
Yeah.
And that was one of his negative plays. But overall, I thought he played an incredible game. Had 10 tackles. You don't want to have 10 tackles all the time in safety. But a lot of them were needed.
Yeah. I love the game. I love the way he played. I like when he made that play on that screen and he got up and he's all fired up. That right there is the embodiment of what it means to play emotional football. It was almost like after that play, it was like it picked everyone's game up even further. And it's so funny how one play like that can make a huge difference. And I had a feeling that he would be the type of player because he just seems hungry. He seems nasty. He seems like he wants it. He wants the opportunity to play, and he's going to take advantage of it. So I was happy to see him play successfully, like you said, and hopefully that continues for him.
He had a stretch where it was 3 straight plays in a row was all him. I was like, oh my gosh, he was a maniac out there, and I really enjoyed that. Cover, he had a lot of tackles.
Yeah, man. Okay.
Yeah, he had 10 tackles. The coverage confusing Goff. I didn't see much that was confusing people. Now I saw some exotic blitzes, but I didn't see much that was confusing. One play that really made me mad. I got to say this play. The one to Amra. Saint, what's his name?
Saint Brown.
The touchdown to him. That made me so mad. The reason it made me mad is the entire game on motions and in the box was Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. They went in motion. This dude weighs Marcus Epps to go out and cover the receiver. Dude, this is what you've been doing. Like in the middle of the game, I'm like, what are they doing? Like, like a motion happened and somebody's late to get in there. He just was like, like he was late. He didn't see it. And Epps was like, dude, what you doing? He's like, go. So you got Epps out there covering a receiver, and I'm like, dude, what are we doing out here? That's what I said. Literally every touchdown.
Hey man,
he gonna get better. He gonna get better. But this was a bad game. This is a bad game.
I agree. I will say this though. I will take that over Anthony. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, Anthony Harris.
Anthony Harris from last year. Like,
yeah.
I'll take anything over that.
A bunch of doing nothing. That's what that was. A bunch of doing nothing. But yeah, he's trying. He's got to get acclimated back to safety again. We talked about that. Let's as far as coverage, as far as pass rush, as far as these things, what needs to happen in order for them to compete with the Vikings this upcoming Monday night, though? Because you got one of the most talented offensive rosters coming your way. Especially skill position. Kirk Cousins, like, I don't know if you guys have saw Kirk Cousins' numbers, but they're unbelievable numbers. Now, I'm not saying that I think he gets a bad rap because his numbers are bad good. I think he was like 33-7 last year. So if I remember his stat correctly, I think it was like 33 touchdowns and 7.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I really think it's something along those lines. That's the number I think I remember seeing, but it's something along those lines. Not too far from that. Now, what do you think we have to do? What has to change in order for us to compete at a higher level versus this team that's coming in? Because they're better than the Lions.
Yeah, I think the biggest you cannot let Justin Jefferson go off. You got to get someone in his face playing aggressive, and you got to give him help over top. If I'm going this game, I'm saying, listen, if y'all gonna beat me, it's gonna be with Thielen, Jalen, whoever else is the receiver, but you cannot let Justin Jefferson beat you because he's a game breaker. Like, he's that dude, and if you get him going, it's a wrap.
It's hard. The thing is that you can try, but it's really, really hard to cover him because I love this new generation of receivers, and I think that the new generation technically is better than the last generation. The last generation of receivers were super athletes.
Good point.
Right? The Megatrons, the Randy Mosses, the T.O.s, just like super athletic, freakish guys that just were, these new guys are technical now. They're explosive, they're fast, but they're technical. Like when you see A.J. Brown out there running routes, he's breaking people down. It's not just that he's just this big dude that's running. No, he has enough wiggle and he understands route technique in order to make a guy lean out left while he's going right. And Justin Jefferson may be the best in the league at making people move out of their spot. You add that with a 4.4 140, that's unstoppable. That's like if I ran a 4.4 140, there is no way you can guard me. I would be like him. You know what I mean? That's just it. But I just wasn't that fast. But when you look at all of the Devontae Adams, all of these guys, they're technicians now, and I love to see it. And it's an extremely hard ask to ask anybody to stop that one-on-one. Even Slay or Bradbury, whoever it is, they're going to go for some of the moves. So you got to figure out a way to just keep the safety over the top and take away one, right? Tell them, look, man, we over the top. Beat the hell out of them at the line. Don't move. You're playing inside, shade him half his body. You play inside and try to beat the living hell out of him. We're going to bring the safety over the top of it. Just don't let him inside you.
That's it. That's what you have to do. I mean, I'm looking at the stats. He had Justin Jefferson's. He had 11 targets. He had 9 receptions for 184 yards. And 20.4 average, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
you're not gonna win. You're not winning the game.
It's and he's hard to tackle.
Yeah.
Why is it always that the skinny dudes be so hard to tackle? Can you explain that to me?
I
Like, you
have
know
no
how hard
idea.
Deshaun was to tackle in the open field? Like, I used to be like, how is he breaking tackle? Is it because they fast and they changing the angles?
It's the speed, the angle changing, and it's not like there's not a big enough target to hit. When they're skinny like that, remember you're going defenders going full speed too. So you got two different speeds coming at each other, going opposite directions, and then on top of that, it's like trying to tackle this wire. Like you running
Yeah.
full speed, you got to try to tackle this dancing wire. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
them skinny dudes, man. I hated tackling skinny guys, and I hated tackling like short, strong dudes
Yeah.
like myself.
Bounce off of you.
Like
Yeah, Maurice Jones-Drew.
Jones-Drew. Oh my
Oh my
God.
gosh, that's a nightmare to tackle.
Oh, Sproles was like that, man.
5'6", 220 pounds. Come on, man.
So, but yeah, you're right, man. You got to get someone in his face. You got to get some help over top.
Yeah,
You got to hit Kurt. You got to hit him early. Like you have to get some pressure on him.
Kurt is accurate too. I like Kirk Cousins. He doesn't. He there's something that's off where he's not completing games the way that they should. I know defense has been bad, but usually a top-notch quarterback is going to get you in the playoffs, consistently, and they win games. So something's off because his numbers are crazy.
It's been real interesting too over this last year with the Vikings with forget the last head coach Zimmer.
Yeah,
A lot of stuff's been kind of coming out about Zimmer and Kirk not liking each other,
yeah.
Kellen Mond. So I'm wondering if there was some kind of internal stuff going on where they were fighting each other to just get through a season. So it could be that, and maybe all's well in paradise now.
We'll see. Now let's go to the offensive side of the ball. And before we go to the offensive side of the ball, make sure you come out to Launch Trampoline Park in Deptford, New Jersey. We have rock climbing. We have Ninja Warrior. We just put in a slam ball court. Q, that means I can go and dunk on you right now. Ballo Jump is coming this upcoming weekend. We put you inside a video game while you jump on the trampolines, and you can do these obstacles looking at yourself in a video game. We are dope. Playground, arcades, everything. New pizza is coming soon as well. We are upping our game at Launch Trampoline Park. Have a corporate event, birthday party, anything. Come get hit in the face by a dodgeball from me, yours truly, Jason Avant. We'll have a good time at Launch Trampoline Park.
I miss that place, man.
the kids should have a ball.
All right, let's get into your favorite part, the offense. All right.
Yep.
So, can you evaluate? I want you to evaluate the offense. How did it look to you? Was it expected? Were you expecting more or less? Tell me what you thought, man.
I expected them to come out and throw the ball a bunch because of all of the money that they spent on that side of the ball and also the resources to the receiver position. They threw the ball 32 times. So I was expecting about that, at least 30. I was thinking between 30 and 40 times they would throw the ball. I thought that the run game was sharp the entire day. I thought that Miles Sanders looked extremely good. It was great to see a healthy Miles Sanders out there. Almost had 100 yards, right? Finally got in the end zone first time in 2 years, right? So finally got in the end zone. So I thought the run game was sharp. It's something that we can lean on in order to win games. That's what Hurts and with the running backs. If something isn't working with Hurts' arm, he's going to figure out a way to try to win the ball game via running it. But they're going to try to pass the ball. I was thoroughly impressed by A.J. Brown, thoroughly impressed by him the entire game of just making people move, like being that big old guy, understanding how to run a slant. He had people scared. He ran a 15-yard out route, but he was moving so fast when he stuck it, nobody was 10 yards. I think he ended up gaining like 30 yards because they were afraid because he already went by him. Just having that presence, it just reminded me of, oh, man, we haven't had a true number one in this city in a long time. Not like a true number one. Deshaun was a number one, but he wasn't a number one that was going to get you all of this variety. He was number one that was going to be you scared of him down the field.
Yeah.
The number one we haven't had since basically T.O.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's probably the most talented receiver we've had since T.O. As far as all encompassing, Deshaun is the best deep threat, probably one of the best in NFL history. But like just with this type of skill set, so I was thoroughly impressed by that. I thought that Jalen held the ball a little bit too long.
Yeah.
In some situations, I thought that and we're going to get in that. What do you think about it?
Yeah, no, I thought for game one, again, not putting too much out there, I thought I was very impressed by AJ as well. I thought the game plan was solid. I liked what Miles did. I have to admit, I wasn't expecting much from Miles this year. Once camp started and he was injured again, I'm like, oh, here we go, another year of this. But he looked really good, solid. All the running backs looked really solid. Jalen at times, I agree. I think he held the ball too long, but I do think he also made some very good key decisions at certain times instead of forcing plays. And we'll get into that a little bit more. But I think overall for game one, I was pretty pleased with it.
Yeah.
Me personally, but
all right, let's talk about. Go ahead. You got the next. What was the next one?
What's that? Oh, shoot. I'm all messed up.
Oh, Jalen.
Okay, yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
All right, we're gonna talk about Jalen Hurts' performance, and so when we talk about Jalen Hurts' performance, remember that we are Jalen Hurts' fans. We want him to succeed. We're not going to be dishonest with you and tell you something that isn't true in the name of being a bandwagon person. We're going to tell you the real. And the real about Jalen Hurts is that he played a really good game. The real is that he did everything that he could in order to advance this team and help them win. We're not winning this game unless he scampers for 15 yards on a 3rd and 15, unless he picks up a 3rd and 5 here and there or makes a big play. All of those things changes the way that they play defense and those things. Now, I love the fact that he had a comfort zone with somebody. And it's great to have a person that wins. When a guy wins, you can do a lot as a quarterback when people are winning. That's why it's so easy to throw the ball to Justin Jefferson. The dude always wins. Devontae Adams, they always win, right? And we have a guy now that wins a bunch. That wins a bunch. And so I know Jalen Hurts is very happy about that one.
He's got to be.
He got to be happy about that. Things that has to improve. Got to keep his eyes up and not anticipate the pressure getting home. There are times where they send a blitz. You have enough blockers for the blitz, but the initial being startled by the blitz caused him to bring his eyes down and try to escape when he had an outlet to throw. There was one time where Devontae Smith had like this Colorado route, which is like a little halfway slant, and you break it back out to the outside. And he ran over left and he ended up tossing the ball out of bounds because of the blitz. Yeah. If he would have just stayed in the pocket and just put a little air under it, the guy was open by 7 yards. And he had enough time to throw that. But his initial response from the pressure was to move and let me get out of it rather than let me anticipate this throw and get it out of my hand a little bit quicker. You can get the same route done if you trust it. Just get it out there sooner with a little bit of touch on it. We'll still make this play.
Yeah.
Like little things like that. Also, completion percentage. Can't start off games 0 for 5, right? I'm happy for him that he was able to overcome it and get over 50%, before, the team and morale and camaraderie. You want to keep the ball off the ground. So I would love that 56% to come up to an average of 65% at least at the minimum in the game. So, and I'm being nitpicky. I'm just saying that's what you want your quarterback to be plus 65 somewhere in there, in order to have, true success in the passing game. And then we got to get some of those touchdowns from passing. We need some. There was a few.
Oh, here you go.
What? Jeff and Adam the other day on the pregame show tried to sneak one in on me like I didn't hear it or see it. Talking about he was 26 overall touchdowns and 9 interceptions. I was like, since when do we judge the stats of the quarterback besides passing touchdowns and interceptions? He was 16-9. I love him. But it was 16-9. Don't be trying to put the 10 rushing touchdowns in there like, yeah, that's a part of the run game. We'll take all of the touchdowns as Eagles fans, but you got to evaluate the quarterback on passing touchdowns, man.
Fair point.
It ain't even a stat line on a quarterback stat sheet that says rushing touchdowns. There is no such stat that you find. You got to go to the running back section where it says running backs, and they'll have Jalen Hurts down there leading normally the running back stats. All right. So all that being said is that he played a really, really good game. Got to get rid of the ball a little bit quicker, anticipate throws when there's the blitz, and get his completion percentage up, and then get more people involved. That's the last thing I'll say. There's nothing like a quarterback maturing and getting people involved, because right now, if this goes on 2-3 games where A.J. Brown gets 11, 12 targets and Devontae Smith go another game without having a catch, or Quez Watkins and so on and so forth, it's going to be some pissed off people in the locker room, man. And so you got to be able to get people involved. And therefore, that's why I talk about the completion percentage. Completion percentage has to be higher so you can get these other guys involved. And that's you elevating them by knowing the offense and getting it to other guys. Now, when it's one-on-one, you tell them as a quarterback, hey, if A.J. Brown has one-on-one and everything is equal, I'm going to him. Yeah. Don would say that to us. I didn't have a problem with that. He would tell, hey, if Deshaun is one-on-one down the field, I'm throwing him the ball. Don't get mad at me. So if Jason is 3rd down, 4th down, and Jason's open, I don't care if all y'all open and he got 3 people on, I'm throwing the ball. He would tell them that, and that's okay. But at least there's some rules and structure there that you're trying to get people the ball, but they know their roles,
Yeah, that makes sense. You don't feel like you're just out there running. But let me ask, because I noticed that too. I saw Jalen did have eyes for AJ, and I said the same thing. Like, if he keeps doing this, I thought it was going to happen in the game. If he keeps forcing the ball to AJ, he's going to end up with a turnover here pretty soon. So, but my question is, all right, so I think
he was winning. AJ was winning, though. He was winning.
Right. Devontae had 4 targets, and he had, 2 drops? Like,
He had some catchable. He had some catchable ones. Well, I remember one catchable one.
Yeah.
The one on the sideline.
You're right.
That should have been caught. He had a mental error on one where it was a run pass option on a fade on a 2nd and 5 in the first series. In the first series. He had a 2nd and 5 fade. They ran a 6-man pressure. And they had no other outlet but to him, or like a bubble up at the not a bubble, but a tunnel screen at the top. He chose him, and he was blocking.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So you had that one, and then he had a catch, but they called it back. Yeah. So it wasn't like that. Last year he was the number 1 target. So to go from being the number 1 target to seeing the other guy, it's a tough thing.
So, like, put me through that mindset for a guy like him. Like, how can he get more targets in terms of developing with this new offense? Like, I don't know exactly how I want to put this, but let's say you're in his shoes, right? You were the star last year, and then you get another guy coming in who's a true number 1, all this fanfare. First game comes out with 10 catches, phenomenal game. How does Devontae react week 2? Like, if you're in that situation, how would you react right now?
As a receiver, as a competitor, you want the ball, and that's fine. That's totally okay. But also, you have to know what the good of the team is, and you have to be able to compartmentalize that. That's why I always tell my receivers when I coach, don't count catches, right? Don't let catches determine your value. Let me tell you what you can do, because receiver is a secondary position. You need so many other positions to do the right thing in order for you to get the ball. The quarterback has to go through progression. He has to throw you a catchable pass. The offensive line has to block. The running back has to pick up a protection. There's so many things that has to go right in order for you to catch the ball. Your receiver that's running the concept with you, he has to get through in order to clear it out. There's so many things that has to go right. So you can determine your value by how many times you show open on the film. Okay. Like, am I winning those times? Because I can make a case for you as a lawyer, as an NFL agent. Hey, man, just because my client isn't getting the ball, let's go back and break down the tape. Let's see how many times was he open on all of these plays.
Okay.
And if he's open a lot, now a couple things are going to happen. The quarterback is making mental notes that this dude is winning all the time, so I can trust him now. So it's a saver for later. And now when you're still running routes to get open and you're not getting the ball, it's frustrating, but also it's going to come back around, because you're like effort plays and hustle plays. The ball finds you when you're actively trying to work. You just can't sulk and get in your mind about it. If you get in your mind and sulk, even when the ball comes your way, you're not mentally prepared for it anymore, because you've already made yourself frustrated and upset about this situation. So the karma is not going to come back your way anyway, because you got the wrong attitude. So when the ball comes your way, you're going to drop it because your mind is already gone.
Yeah.
But if you have a mindset of, let me go out here, do anything I can to help the team win. Let me win my one-on-one matchups, right? And let me do other little things to get involved, right? There's many games where the ball doesn't come to me until the fourth quarter. Like, you know how hard it is when you playing the game, the entire game, and the ball comes to you in the last drive of the game. If I'm sitting there all game like, these dumb motherfuckers, and I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen to dudes where they complain the whole game, the ball comes to them at the end of the game, they drop it. Like, we've seen it.
Yeah.
That's why you laughing hard, right? Man, I ain't getting the ball. It's about this. This is about that. You dropping it, and that's how it is, you know. So you got to keep your mind. You got to keep your mind engaged. So one, Devontae Smith, I think that he's mature enough to handle it, because remember, he came from Alabama. It's a long laundry list of dudes that was in front of him, so he knows how to be number 2, 1. So I don't think it'd be a problem for him. Quiz, there's not much expectation, but Quiz is going to be, he's going to be a starter somewhere probably in the future.
Yeah.
He runs too well to not have an opportunity somewhere. I say starter, top 3, top 2, 1, whatever, somewhere else. It won't be a 1, but a starter somewhere else.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's gonna be tough. They gotta do that. They gotta figure that part out. I beat that up.
No, that was good. No, it was a good question, because and I'm glad you said that towards the end about him being at Alabama, because I got the feeling at times it looked like he was sulking a little bit, and I'm like, man, I hope he don't go in the tank.
It's tough. It's tough. But he was at Alabama, but he became the Heisman Trophy winner too. He used to being the man too. He want to be in there. And let me tell you what helps that. The quarterback's development.
Good point. Yeah.
When a quarterback is one guy like that, it's usually not good for the entire team eventually. How many games did Megatron win? Huh?
I don't even know.
How many times did he get the ball?
A lot.
A lot. It's not always good for the team. Matthew Stafford was a good quarterback, but he was hindered by being a quarterback that just threw the ball to one person all the time. So the quarterback's development has to mature in order to make all of these guys happy.
Mm. All right.
This true. That.
All right.
This true. All right.
Giving us that wisdom. That wisdom. I love it, man. I love it.
Is the RPO centric offense the right offense for this team? 17 runs by Hurts. Is that too dangerous? Too much running?
I mean, he was taking some shots. I think I would probably say a good 3 or 4 of those runs, maybe more, were off design pass plays. And I was impressed with him recognizing the 2-man coverages and just taking off. So I would say it probably is closer to, 12 design runs. I've yet to see the RPO offense find a place in the NFL like long term. So I'm a little bit nervous about that. I do think it creates some unique challenges for opposing defenses, but I would love to see more incorporation of a traditional West Coast style offense. I mean, it's good for the first few games, but teams always figure it out eventually. I mean, you got years and years of experience and mind power in these defensive coaching rooms. So eventually everybody's going to catch up to it. So hopefully they're still trying to develop him as a passer long term for his long term benefit. So I like it right now. It's cool right now, but hopefully it starts to develop more into a traditional passing game.
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree with you. I'm just trying to think about this thought. Jeff pointed out a play. It was a 2nd and 5. The one that Devontae Smith was blocking rather than, going out for the fade route. It was a 2-man route. It was a 6-man pressure. They had 7 in the box. They dropped one out really late, really, really late. And then they went 4 for 4 on the outside, right? 3 up, 1 at the bottom. No, it was 2nd down because on the 3rd down, the 3rd down was AJ Brown because he got covered on the 3rd down. No, it was 3rd down. It was 3rd down and they got covered on the 4th down. Yeah, so it was 3rd down, 3rd and 5. On a 3rd down, they went an RPO, like a run pass option. It was just weird. A 3rd and 5.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was just weird. And that wasn't the only time that they did it. They did it later in the game and it ended up working. Mm-hmm. Where it was a weird situation where we're going RPO games and like 3rd and 5s and 3rd and 7s. It was just like really weird because it cuts off your opportunities to kind of make a play. Especially if there is like a coverage that's aggressive like that. Like that coverage that they had was really aggressive because it was 0 until the guy dropped out on the snap.
Yeah.
And they're playing man across, and I don't care what defense you have as far as a run pass option. They've covered all the options. They have more people than you can block in the box, and they going 1 for 1 on the outside. So it was just a weird situation. I didn't love that. I didn't love us getting to a 3rd and 5, a 3rd and 10, and running RPO stuff. It was just weird. Now, one of them worked at the end of the game. I have to give them credit for that. One of them did work. But in those situations, usually it's a concept where you read left to right, right to left, or you're reading high low, or you're reading cover 2 on this side, and if it's man over here, it's something more complex than that.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
I know exactly what you're talking about. My only thought on that was, I mean, maybe either one. It was, to me, I thought it was 1 or 2 things. They were trying to catch him in some type of coverage or blitz and trying to, get some type of play out of it. Or for me, number 2 was that they had already made the decision that they were going to go for it on 4th down. And so they figured, hey, if we can at least get, 2 or 3 yards here, we're going to go for it on 4th. Those were my only 2, because I agree with you. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Why?
Then he
It
should
didn't
have
make
threw
no
the
sense.
he should have threw the tunnel screen up top. Then it was 3 persons, but it was 3 people covering it, but
Yeah.
one was coming from 12 yards. If you're going to go for it, then yeah. So that call was a little perplexing to me, and also it was like you got to trust Hurts, trust him to read it out.
Yeah.
To me, it was like, hey, trust him. Like give him something more than that so he can read it out. Like give him let's go. Don't give him baby food. You know what I mean? Don't give him that. Like give him something else. You know what I mean? That was my take on that. Now, do you think we need more runs? I thought we ran the ball pretty good. Think we need more runs to kind of take the pressure off of them? Now, more running back runs. Let's keep it straight. 13 Miles had 5 for Kenny, 4 for Boston. So we had 22 running back runs.
I think that's a sweet spot right there. You know, I thought, Miles almost 100 yards. What Gaines had? What 5 for 20?
Yeah,
4 for
yeah,
20?
yeah.
Um,
They had over 100 as a group.
Yeah, I thought that was right around the sweet
and
spot.
3 touchdowns for running backs.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot for this team right now. So we're talking, what is that? 20? Was it 22 runs? You said
they had 22. They had 22 runs as a running back group.
Okay, so that's not counting the quarterback.
That's not counting the quarterbacks. The quarterback's takes him up 39 because he had 17 of them.
Okay, I think that's good. We said it. We've always said, with a young quarterback, best friend is that run game. And I think in the future you're going to face teams that are going to force the hand. They're going to force him. They're going to load the box up and force him to throw the ball. So you might as well get it while you can, because pretty soon, and it might be this week, they're going to be forcing him to drop back and pass the ball. So we'll see.
This prior game was a little bit alarming to me because of the lack of regard of his ability to run. Now he hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen hurt them bad because he had 90 yards rushing and he had a touchdown from rushing. He hurt them bad.
Mm-hmm.
But it was weird to me how much Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, blitzed him. They blitzed him like it was a lot. They were trying to get the ball out of his hand. He was able to escape it a few times, but they blitzed him a lot. Do you think that's going to be a trend going forward?
No. And go ahead.
Now, I don't think it should be a trend because they gave up 31 points.
Yeah. So
they were blitzing them, but they were getting gashed too.
Yeah. So like that's what I was trying to allude to earlier. One thing I noticed in the first half, especially, like you said, it was 2-man. It was, we're coming after him. He can't. It was almost like Aaron Glenn tried to achieve what Todd Bowles did last year. The only difference was, first of all, I think the defensive personnel is better in Tampa Bay, but I also think that there were too much. I think when Todd Bowles was coming after Jalen, he had a plan behind it. He had zone coverages behind it. He had guys with eyes on the quarterback. He had guys ready for him as soon as he was getting ready to break and then take a run for it. It was like as soon as the blitz didn't get there, and as soon as the secondary for the Lions was in coverage, it was like 50-yard gaps in the middle of the field. And against any running quarterback, that's against Tom Brady, who runs a 5 forever, 40. You know what I mean? That's easy money. So I was actually, I agree with you. I was shocked by the disregard for his athletic ability. And maybe they said, you know what, he doesn't know how to read it. He's just gonna, give us an easy one or
easy pick or something like that.
Yeah, it was
and that's the thing that Jalen did really good is, despite getting hit so much and 32 attempts, the ball wasn't in harm's way a lot. And that's one thing that I can say about Jalen is that, I want his completion percentage up, but he throws a lot of passes away.
Yeah.
Even if it's not out of bounds, it's in a safe spot. So he does protect the football pretty well. Yeah, I know a few throws he wants back. A few throws that he wants back, like that whole shot to AJ Brown. If he hits him with enough, that's a touchdown because he gonna split him.
Yeah.
If he gets him with enough and he doesn't have to go down and catch, that's like if you catch a whole shot that good where he can get down and get that, that's a touchdown because the safety's in an impossible position in order to make that play because the way he has to come and try to make the tackle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially against AJ.
Yeah, against him. And then Kenneth Gainwell had an easy walk-in touchdown on the left side out of just a running back in the flat that he one hop to him, So just like little things like that, wanting to get better at. I think we've kind of, discussed the Devontae Smith thing. AJ Brown, we kind of talked about it. There are so many plays I can point to, but the slants that he ran, those are staple routes. He's getting open on those. He got open on pretty much every route that he had except for 2. And that's what you want. Like, how many targets did he have? 11?
Let me see.
Was it 11 targets and 9 catches?
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think it was 11 targets and 9 catches. One of the ones that he didn't get was the 4th down. And that was just a route technique thing. That's a very advanced route technique thing that I hope his coach talks to him about because that could be a completion pretty easily if he just makes one minor adjustment. But it was he had an amazing game.
All right, let's get into next week, man. Let's start talking about the Vikings and real quick, and then we'll look around the NFC. So, what should we tackle first? Let's look at the NFC. All right, let's talk about the NFC East.
East?
All right. NFC East, Dallas, they lost Dak for what, 4 to 6 weeks? Oh, was it 6 to 8? Ooh.
See, they won't get him back until after the bye week, which is like week 9.
Okay. Carson had 4 touchdowns.
Carson beat Doug. That had to feel good.
Oh, no, that had to feel good.
That had to feel good. He threw 4 touchdowns and 1 interception. Yeah, he beat Doug. I know he was happy about that. Very happy about that.
Giants got a last minute win.
Yeah, so Dak being hurt, that kind of puts the Eagles in the driver's position for the division. For sure. Giants get a win. That's not, I'm not dismissing them at all. I'm just
I know. It's the Giants.
No. I want to see what they do with Dable. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Overall NFC East, I think the Eagles in the driver's position with the Cowboys losing Dak Prescott for so long.
I mean, I watched the game. They looked absolutely horrible. Even before losing him, I was like, is this the same Dallas team? They looked absolutely horrible. I don't know what it is, but I was happy to see it. But man,
no, they haven't had a guy. We have Gallup hurt. You lose Amari Cooper. They don't have another guy that wins one-on-one matchups consistently besides CeeDee Lamb. And CeeDee Lamb isn't Justin Jefferson. And that's the thing that's emerging out of that draft is that Justin Jefferson was the prize, and what they thought CeeDee Lamb was, and Jerry Jeudy and all of these guys were, and it was actually Justin Jefferson, which is pretty funny, Yes, and people will evaluate that a little bit different too because they designated him to the slot. Once you run a 4.41 140, that just makes you more valuable if you were in the slot. That means that you are a smarter player than all the guys that are on the outside because you were in the slot and you have the ability to go out there again. So they need to really evaluate that. If a guy has measurables, that he's tall enough, that he can run fast enough, don't designate him as a slot guy. I heard that so many times during that draft. But, yeah. Now, we'll get into the games and stuff for next week. I just think that for the Vikings game coming up, the Eagles defense has to show a lot better in coverage and also quarterback pressure in order for us to have a shot this week. That's That's the biggest thing. I think the offense is going to be able to score on the Vikings because the Vikings give up some points, even though they play well versus the Packers this week. But I think the earnestness on the defense to shut down Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, contain Kirk Cousins, and that's going to happen through pass rush and or amazing coverage. So we'll see what Jonathan Gannon has this week. It's one of those things where you have a playoff team, which the Vikings are definitely a playoff caliber team, and our record versus playoff quarterbacks or really good quarterbacks is very bad, especially this last year. So we lost all of our games to top tier quarterbacks. So hopefully the Eagles defense and the Eagles team can get over this hump. It's a great test for upcoming this week.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I like that. We'll see, man. We shall see.
We shall see. Q. We're going to break that down. We're going to break it off from there for the Q&A show for this week. Listen,
yes, sir.
It's great to have you back, Q, and have us back together again. I'm mad that you're not close enough where I can give my brother a dap, a hug, but it's all good.
I got to fly back and make my trips to come see you, man. Come check you out.
Come on back anytime. Anytime. Hey, and thank you all for tuning in to the first Q&A show on Inside the Birds platform. Remember to check us out, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Inside the Birds @gmail.com for your questions. Also, remember the pregame show is 3 hours before each game. Adam Kaplan, Jeff Mosher, Greg Cosell, the tape breakdown guru, myself. Also, the postgame, Adam Kaplan, Jeff Mosher, and Trey Thomas. The Q&A shows back. Be ready every Tuesday morning. Also, you can check me out, University of Michigan Radio Sideline Reporter. I do that. Go to the games. Anything, social media, follow us. And thank you guys for tuning in so very much. You guys have an amazing week. Go Birds for the W. Let's get one on Monday night.
Yes, sir.
You got the last words.
As always, man, it's been a blast. Love talking football with you. Love learning. I say it every time. I learn something from you, man. So I appreciate it. And it's all love, man. Thank you guys for having us, and we'll see you next week.